Welcome to the Saudi Football Fanatics channel. This is the second episode of our end of the season recap. The full team is here again. Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
So, in the last episode we covered the records and the great performances of Ahli, Al Nassr and Cristiano Ronaldo. If you want to listen to these stories, then listen to our first episode. In this second episode, we will cover the fight for the Champions League spots, the other two PIF teams, Al Ahli and Al Ittihad, their performances, our expectations, their expectations, and so on and so forth. I think we should start about Al Ahli because their story is quite of a fairy tale in my eyes. They have just promoted to the Saudi Pro League. Let's say that they are a historic team, so not just some promoted team. It's a team with a big history. They promoted, they got the PIF money because it's obviously a great boost for anyone. But they used it, I think, quite well. And let me just phrase it that way. I think they were the unsung heroes of the league in terms of consistency. And they built quite a nice team, very consistent, very good. And in the end, they qualified for the Champions League and ended on the podium behind the two great teams, Al Hilal and Al Nassr. Quite an achievement, in my opinion. What do you think? No thoughts.
I think we totally agree, and we can conclude this episode now because you told everything about Al Ahli, or almost everything. Because of course we can talk about. You mentioned that they are the unsung heroes of the league. Maybe some actors of that story. My main one is Al Buraikan, who actually wasn't in the first team at the beginning, in the first 11 at the beginning of the season. He was just a substitute, but after that, I think after some weeks he got the chance, and with a consistent performance, he also found himself in the starting 11. Sometimes next to Firmino or on the place of Firmino, and I think he was one of the best players of Al Ahly throughout the season. It is also good news for the Saudi national team as well, because he's a starting player in most of the cases for the Saudi team, because he's one of the best goal scorers of the Saudis. So for me, he was one of the best.
Yeah, I have to say that he's my favorite player in Al Ahly. And if you look at his age, it's more to come from him. The best years are still ahead of him. So the Saudi team is very lucky to have this talent. And it's great to see that a local player, despite players like Firmino being signed to be the player to lead the line, a local guy can grow above the superstars, let's say that, and become the top player for the team. I'm absolutely happy to see that. Very, very happy for Al Buraikan. And even in the early Ahli matches, when the season was just starting, I watched a few football matches. Obviously, we all watched a lot of matches. But whenever Al Buraikan was substituted in, when Al Ahly needed help, he was always there to deliver it, and fully deserved to get his chance and become the top scorer of the team and an iconic figure.
I would hate to break the chain of praises here, but I don't have the same feeling about this team. I believe they landed at the spot which was I don't know, which could have been expected for them. Maybe we counted with a stronger Ittihad, but they were new in the league on the one side, fresh, which does not a good reason to finish at the podium. But they also invested a lot of money and signed class players. And by saying that, I thought that they will be a bit more better. And if you look at the table, so Al Nassr, I believe, was far from having a perfect season. And Al Ahly is almost 20 points behind them, and this is thanks. I believe Al Ahly was not consistent. First of all, for me, they were consistent in dropping points in every 2 or 3 months when it was really not necessary. If we recall correctly, they had a very bad shape in around November, when they lost a lot of points, like against Damak, Al-Shabaab, or Al-Rayed. Even Abha beaten them in the King Cup in the same period, and then in February they lost against Al Ohdud, and I'm really mentioning here relegation area teams, and they also drew against Al Fateh, and then the catastrophic April came when they drew again with Al Vehda, lost against Al Riyadh, and that's also, for me, it seems that in every 2 or 3 months they had a streak which was unacceptable compared to their level. So in the next season, I expect from them much more.
Yeah, but anyway, they had one of the best defenses. I think the third best one, maybe. Yeah, next to Taawoun. And also you mentioned these great signings. If you just check their stats, their numbers, all of them are on the top. So every one of them had at least 15 goal per assist during this season. And one of the best next to Buraikan is Riyad Mahrez. Also, he was the most expensive one, of course. He had more than 10 goals, almost 15 assists. So I don't know where is the problem here, because their defense is strong.
Yeah, that only these are the players who are scoring apparently, because they had in a total 33 goals less than Al Nassr. That's a loss.
Yeah.
That's 1 goal per match.
But Al-Ahli doesn't have a Ronaldo, so don't be so harsh on them.
But maybe next year they will have a much stronger Gabri Veiga, who was injured a lot during this year. And when he wasn't injured, he wasn't in the form anyway where he was in Celta Vigo. So he wasn't the best signing of the year, I'm sure about that. But maybe after this, let's say, learning season, he will have a much stronger year, and maybe this will help Al-Ahli's form as well. And also now they will have more PIF money, and the incomes will increase because of the Champions League. So if they can strengthen their weak points, mainly as you mentioned on the attacking side, so they will be able to score more goals, I think they will be a bigger threat for the top 2 as well.
I would be very happy in that case. I mean, that's what I have expected from them anyway, to challenge a bit more. Obviously, don't want to deny their results, finishing in the Champions League spot in this as a newcomer in the league, in this very strong league. It's a very good result in itself.
Yeah, just let me defend myself for a minute. What I mean here is that as the season progressed, we could see them evolve, find the good and ideal starting lineup, and in the end, it was not really questionable in the last months of the league that they will be the third. So that's what I meant here. It will be obviously interesting to see how they will cope with the double pressure of the league and the Champions League. But it's the topic of the summer, I think, how they will be able to strengthen the team, because obviously they need to. But I think their performance was quite well. Roshan!
Saudi League.
But let's move on, because there was one more team who I think we will agree was performing above expectations, and I think it's Taawoun. And it's quite obvious. At the start of the season, we have seen that they started the season very well, and they also had their worst periods, let's phrase that way. But in the end, they never really gave up and never really fell apart, even after losing key player Alvaro Medlan to Al Ittihad in the winter transfer window. Taawoun stayed up there and qualified in the 4th spot.
Yeah. So this team was obviously the biggest surprise of RSL this year, at least for me. One would have expected that the 4RS PIF team will be the first 4, and Taawoun said, "Hold my beer," and they secured they secured an international cup spot, and they were, I believe, we can say that also consistent, if we want to keep that, with one of the best defenses, only bested at the end of the day by Ittihad and Ahli during the season. Grabbed clutch points. They have to improve, obviously, many qualities, but they were, I believe, overperforming hands down. So this was a very perfect season for them.
Just 2 points from my side. I'm sure that they didn't have any beers. That's the first one. And the second is that if you check their last years, it's not a big surprise. Okay, next to the PIF money, it can be a big surprise. But in the last 4 seasons, they have now 2 4th spots, 1 5th spot, and only 1 weak season. So they are quite consistent.
Let me defend Andris. I think he meant that in light of the PIF money.
Yeah, I got that. I'm just saying that it's a consistent team, and I can see them in the coming years as well, after or among the weaker PIF teams as well. So somewhere between the 4th and 6th spot.
PIF teams, right, and that, as Gyula mentioned, that I expected that at least those 4 will finish in front of Taawoun. But honestly, during the start of the season, I also saw that Al Shabab and Al Ittihad will be at least around or challenge Taawoun. But Taawoun was way clear of them.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think that Al Ittihad improved somewhat after the winter transfer window. Al Shabab also improved somewhat, but right after we praised them, they fell apart a little bit at the end of the season. Not a surprise, we praised somebody and they totally fell apart.
Sorry
to everyone. We honestly do not target anybody. This is just how it happens. So I think we will have quite an interesting summer transfer window and next season in light of this. But let's talk here a little bit about the 4th PIF team.
Sorry, Gyula, just one more point regarding Taawoun, because their next season could be much harder because they will be in this 2nd tier Champions League, let's say this way. So they will have much more matches on different fields. I don't know if they won't perform well on the transfer window. That could be a big problem, and they could have a weak season as well. But we will see if they have it. They will have a nice transfer window and will be able to deepen their squad and keep up this quality. I think they have a bright future then.
Yeah, obviously depth is needed because the quality is there already.
That's very good that you mentioned, Mark. Thank you. That with this 4th place, and I also covered it, but very quickly, in the 4th place, and thanks to Al Hilal and Al Nassr playing the King Cups final, they secured a spot in the Champions League 2 in Asia. This, to our listeners who are not familiar with this is something like the European League, so the 2nd tier continental tournament in Asia. So, and I also believe that they have kind of a good chance to go through this tournament and secure a final spot. Let's see.
We are running out of time, so just quickly a few thoughts about Al Ittihad and what went wrong with their season, because we obviously expected them to perform much better. PIF money came in, they were the reigning champions, so everyone expected more of them. When I saw them signing players like Benzema and Kante for absolutely free, you had the feeling that they made the bargain of the worldwide transfer window. We already talked about them a lot, that they had bad spells, they didn't perform well, but what went wrong? What do you think? And is there a way back?
Okay, you mentioned the names, but in practice, do they have any good signings? Because Benzema wasn't even there, or if he was, then there were some problems during the whole year. Fabinho was injured most of the time. Kante, to be honest, I don't even remember that he played through the year. We just talked about it with Andris. because we believed he was injured, but no, he wasn't. He was just much weaker than he was in Chelsea. So I think they just had a catastrophic transfer window, and while the other PIF teams has a much better one. So and this was the result of it.
Roshan.
Saudi League.
Yeah, I believe the only player who performed consistently was Hamdallah, basically, as expected, the legend of the team. But apart from that, I totally agree with you that actually they had great signings, and if you look at their team statistics, only looking at that team, then the new signings are having the most goals and more assists and most assists, but nearly not enough. So it's really not enough compared to the other PIF team signing. Giving you an example, Jota is actually their 5th best goal scorer, and his stat is 4 goals and 0 assists. Kante 2 goals, 5 assists. Coronado 5 goals, 7 assists. And you would have not guessed Benzema 9 goals, 7 assists. Actually, not so bad compared to the playing time that he spent on the field during this season. Apart from that, this, I believe, a good. This proves what you stated, just Mark, that actually the signings did not go well. But this does not mean I believe that next year it cannot change.
Yeah, so we can conclude that probably the transfer window will be an active one for the Jeddah-based club.
Yeah, here, I believe, is a good question. But what will happen with Benzema? And I would like to hear your opinions here.
And that is true. That's a good question.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether any European top team wants Benzema now, because they saw what he does in Saudi. So he doesn't want to visit the trainings. He is injured all the time, if it is true anyway. So I don't know whether if I would be, which I'm not, an owner of a great European team, I don't know really whether I wanted to pay a lot of money for this kind of Benzema, what we just saw this year.
Yeah, my opinion was, or rather, what I'm curious to see who will be the coach of the team next year, who will be the manager. Because maybe if someone Benzema likes can come in and motivate him, then they have a perfect new signing in Benzema, I think. Interesting, obviously.
I agree. If I have a Benzema, I would stay in the league. He will not find a better league because this is a very well improving and which a league which showed quality this season. I would certainly stay here. But I have heard rumors about Fenerbahce as an option.
But not so promising.
As Jose Mourinho is apparently seems to joining Fenerbahce, so he has a personal connection.
No, well, obviously we can conclude that this will be the team whose transfer activity will be the most exciting.
Yeah, and yes. It's also a big question beyond Benzema's future that they won't participate in the Champions League.
Yes.
So yeah. I'm sure that they will miss some money because of that, but they will have also more chance to recover and maybe avoid the injuries what they have this year, because they had a whole lot of them. So that's also true. And I also heard some rumors about the signing of Fekir, which could be also interesting because he. But please correct me, Andrish. He played. Did he play together with Benzema in Lyon, or he arrived after him to Lyon?
Arrived after, I believe.
Yeah. But anyway, he has the same past as Benzema, so I think they could find a common voice. in the dressing room, and it may improve Benzema's performance as well. And also Fekir would be a good strengthening. He's just 30 years old. He's still 30 years old, which is surprising for me because he's on this top level. I don't know how many years for now. So yeah, it could be interesting as well.
Mark, one problem I believe with Fekir, which doesn't make him a good fit to this team. He's simply injury prone. He's missing 6 months in a year. That's why he had to join, for example, Betis, which is a very great team, but he has options for bigger teams. But this was the reason, for example, there was even Liverpool.
And they didn't sign him because of an ankle problem or something like that.
Yeah, and Al Ittihad's injury record is not something that you want to, enhance in the next season, probably with another player.
Well, this is a very interesting topic, but I think we should keep it for the summer transfer window. So,
okay.
If you don't mind, let me close this episode. And thanks everyone for joining this second episode of the league recap. And we will continue soon with a third one about the relegation battle. See you soon. Cheers.